Hey, good morning. Thank you for hopping on with us on WBTV News Now. Alex Giles here with meteorologist Eric Garlick. We just wrapped up WBTV News this morning. First Alert Weather Team has been busy.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to be busy as we get closer to the event. We're about 12 hours, 14 hours away from starting to see some of this move into the area. We'll see it start as rain. Some of us will transition over to some freezing rain, some sleet, some snow. Back to freezing rain, back to rain.
Right.
So it's a pretty complex, difficult forecast, and trying to pinpoint down exactly where this is going to happen. We're doing our best.
Yep. As always.
Precision is a big part of accuracy when it comes to the WBTV weather team, and we're laying it all out for you. We're going to try to narrow it down and let you know exactly what you're going to see depending on where you are, kind of going county by county.
And we appreciate that. And obviously, first things first, we're starting off with just a really cold morning today.
Yeah, I mean, it's frigid. We're talking teens and 20s for a lot of us. As we go through the next hour or two, we'll start to see things warming up. Frosty start. Probably going to have quite a bit of frost on the cars this morning if you park outside. Typically, we don't have the frost on our vehicles when we come in because we come in so early, but I already had some forming on my car this morning.
I did as well. It's one of those days.
Yeah, just the temperature's dropping far enough and fast enough that we have to deal with it. So something to keep an eye on.
All right, winter weather advisory. I'm going to let you get into this, all right?
Yeah, winter weather advisory in effect. It starts at 1 a.m. tomorrow morning. Kind of redundant, but 1 a.m. Saturday to 1 p.m. Saturday. So early morning to early afternoon is when that severe weather advisory, that winter weather advisory is issued for, and that's going to be something that we are going to continue to watch. So please, 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 if you're tuning in, just drop a comment, just drop a hi at least. If you have any questions, we're monitoring those questions, so feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer all of those questions. Sometimes when you do these Facebook Lives, you don't always get every single question.
Right, exactly.
It just kind of shows up as they come in. But please, if you're tuning in, if you're taking the time to tune in, drop us at least a hello or a like. Interact with us. It helps us. It helps us be able to tell you exactly what you want to know.
I was about to say, this is what we can't do when we're just on air on TV, is interact with people. So if you have a question, a comment, a concern, you can drop it in the comments. I'll be looking at that while Eric is going through the forecast.
Yeah, so winter weather advisory: Cleveland, Lincoln, Catawba, Iredell, Rowan, Alexander, Burke, Caldwell, Avery, Watauga, and Ashe County. So a good chunk of our viewing area going to be included in this winter weather advisory. And again, this is going to be for snow up to 1 inch. Even in the higher elevations, not expecting much snow out of this, but kind of more of a freezing rain event thanks to the setup that we do have, a little bit of some cold air damming. So let's kind of walk you through the broad timeline of this. So we start to see it moving in overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, and that's when we'll start to see things turning slick with a little bit of freezing rain, some drizzle, some sleet, all of that possible as you head out early tomorrow morning. Now, it doesn't stick around too long. By afternoon, early afternoon hours, most of this is gone, even the rain moving out of here as we head into Saturday afternoon and evening. So just kind of a broad overview, a timeline. If you don't have to be out Saturday morning, just go ahead and skip. So let's talk about this. We'll look at a couple different models. This is our HRRR, high resolution rapid refresh model.
Say that 5 times
Yeah,
fast.
exactly. But we are going to see moisture starting to work in 11, 12 o'clock in the southwestern portions of the state. And then by 1 a.m., we start to see that transition from that cold rain over to some sleet, over to some freezing rain, even some snow in the higher elevations. Boone, back toward Asheville, kind of looking at that snow level, 4,000, 4,500 feet and above. Below that, looking at the potential for some of that freezing rain. So as we head toward 4 a.m., you can still see the freezing rain kind of confined to Morganton, Statesville, back up into the high country, still seeing some snow. By 9 a.m., notice all of those snow indicators that we see on the Futurecast, they're gone. So we're going to see this transition into a cold rain event by late Saturday morning, even in the high country, as that system kind of pulls out, and then it's out of here by Saturday afternoon. Here's another model that we use. This is an in-house model. I have temperatures overlaid on this one, but 30 degrees in Jefferson, 27 Boone, 32 Lenore, 32 Morganton, 31 in Asheville. And, anytime you get liquid precip falling onto those temperatures that are below freezing, it's not a good recipe. So that's something that we are going to continue to watch for as we head into Saturday morning. And this has us moving a little bit further south. So look at that freezing level. Lincolnton, 32, 31 in Statesville. Shelby, right at 33 degrees at 6 a.m. So a big factor in this is how much cold air is in place, how long is it going to stick around, and really, and we'll talk about this more in a minute, but how fast can the freezing rain event actually limit itself? We'll talk about the process of latent heat in just a little bit, but it will actually kind of hurt itself. But as we head toward 9 a.m., you can see this transitioning into an all rain event, and it'll be a cold rain, but it'll be all rain. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment. If you want me to go back and look at a graphic, I'll try and do that as well. So I appreciate everybody taking the time. So here's what we're thinking. Likely going to see some slick roads.
Yep.
And by slick roads, primarily focusing on bridges, overpasses, elevated surfaces, anything where that cold air can get underneath and kind of cool off. This is, the bad thing that we want to see. We don't want to see that cold air getting underneath those bridges and overpasses and rain falling on top of it. So, that's one of the things we look at. So here's a graphic that I've put together, and this is for ice accumulation. You can see kind of 1/4 of an inch possible across the big area, but notice those reds. Some of these models getting a little bullish on exactly how much icing we could see in the Asheville area. And if you look back at my first map that I showed you, there's actually winter storm warnings in place for a few counties in the state. Not in our area, but primarily near the Asheville area where we could see that icing set up and be a little bit more stout. So here's what we're talking about when we talk about icing impact as well. So underneath 1/4 of an inch is what we're forecasting. Slick spots, bridges, overpasses, light glaze on trees, maybe on the power lines. An isolated power outage or two will be possible, but you really don't see any of the significant, widespread, numerous issues until we get into that 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch, and then anything over a 1/2 inch is
when you get into like the ice storm category.
Yeah, exactly. So, right now we're thinking less than 1/4 of an inch, and kind of been thinking that all along. So as far as impacts, what can you expect on the roadways? What can you expect in your terms of travel? And you're going to want to use caution for the areas in yellow. So some slick spots on the roadways, those bridges and overpasses. As you head up toward those oranges, hazardous driving conditions potentially. And notice over toward Asheville, where we were looking at those higher icing amounts with the one model, that is where we're seeing the potential for some hazardous conditions. So what type of precip are we going to see?
Oh, that's the big question
Have you seen this graphic before? So when you have a cold air from top to bottom, you get all snow. When you get some sleet, you get cold air with a shallow layer of warm air. It melts, and then it falls through cold air again and freezes again before it hits the ground. And then freezing rain, that warm air is a little bit thicker, so you get the cold air, it falls as snow, and melts, becomes potentially sub-freezing.
Right.
And then, just enough cold air to get that below freezing, and then it freezes on contact. And then, obviously, rain. Cold up top, warm below. It comes down as, warm air in relative terms. Above freezing, you'll see that rain, and it will likely be cold in nature. So wanted to talk a little bit more about that latent heat that I talked about. So you got to think back to early science days.
I'm about to say science class is in session with Professor Garlick.
In order to heat things up and cool things down, you have to get the heat from somewhere.
Okay.
Or you have to get the cold from somewhere.
Right.
So if you have ice forming, it is borrowing the cold from the air. So it actually warms the air and vice versa. So when you have a bunch of ice falling and a bunch of freezing rain forming, it eventually is going to warm up the air surrounding it above 32 degrees. And that is going to be, kind of a self-limiting factor. So if there's only so much cold air available, once it's warmer than 32 degrees, you're done.
Yeah.
But in this situation, that's what we're going to see. Now, some events...
I want folks to see how excited you are about this. He loves talking about this stuff.
So in some events, we have an unlimited supply of cold air. That cold air keeps filtering in, and it doesn't matter. But with this wedge setup that we have, there's only so much cold air available.
Okay.
So that should help limit the amount of precip and icing that we see. You can see the system now moving through Louisiana and Mississippi, moving our way. Today, cold, mostly sunny, dry. Highs in the mid to upper 40s, 39 in the mountains, looking at 48 in Piedmont Sandhills at 49 degrees. So our 7-day forecast.
There it is.
First alert weather day, Saturday. First alert weather day, Tuesday. Look at the difference in temperatures between Saturday and Tuesday. That should let you know we're not really worried about that severe weather or winter weather threat on Tuesday, but instead some heavy rain, maybe a rumble of thunder or two. Something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. We'll get through one at this point.
Right.
That winter weather advisory for tomorrow, and then we'll worry about Tuesday when Tuesday comes. So go ahead and pop us up, and I'm going to go back on graphics, and we'll show that winter weather advisory once again.
I was about to say, we did get some comments from folks here. Ms. Krinzer said, thank you for doing this, first off.
Of course.
You're very welcome. She said, looks like Gaston County is right on the edge. So I don't know if you can sort of go back and pull up the map and talk about the locations and who's going to get what, because I know that's always the biggest question, right?
Yep, there we go. So here's where the winter weather advisory is highlighted by the National Weather Service. They issue all of this based on our forecasts and the available information that we have. But Cleveland, Lincoln, Iredell, Rowan County. Now, notice Gaston County, if you draw a line from southeastern Cleveland County to southeastern Lincoln County, it intersects Gaston County. And they take that into account when they draw up these polygons. So what this tells me that they didn't include Gaston, the impacts in Cleveland, Lincoln County are going to be further west and northwest. As of now. Doesn't mean this won't change and Gaston County can't be included in this.
Right, but you're saying they'd be on the far stretch if it's just a portion of Lincoln and Gaston.
Right, exactly. So, Cleveland County, it's a long county, so southeast and northwest.
Right.
You have that elevation change. You have, there's a lot of microclimates and things at play that they have to account for. But, you got to highlight the county. That's the way the warnings work.
That makes sense. That makes sense. You can't just say, hey, it's just for the portion of this county. When the warning goes out, you got to include the entire county.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point, because people are traveling too, so you never know if they're going to plan on their Saturday being in one part of the county and then you going across town for something else.
And it's just easy. Where you can't do city lines and townships and things like that. So county is, you're getting pretty high resolution data when you're talking about counties being included and not included in watches and warnings and such.
Wanted to mention that you guys are constantly updating the app and the website as well. I wanted to pull this up real quick, WBTV.com, and of course if you go to the weather tab, you can see the information that the weather team has provided, right, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. We update this several times a day. You'll get one of our latest newscasts, and we have engage videos and things up on the app. That can be geofenced, so it doesn't necessarily have to go to anyone. If we have a severe thunderstorm warning or something popping up in your county, you won't necessarily get that as a whole. So kind of nice little tool to have.
Eric, anything else about this forecast and the first alert weather day we got Saturday before we let the folks go here? Hop on TV to do another cut-in.
Do your part of the warning process.
There you go.
I worked in Oklahoma for a while, and a big part of getting this information out is you hitting the share button, or you tagging somebody in the comments, or even just dropping a hey, we're watching, or hey, we're watching from Gaston County, hey, we're watching, just any of that interaction helps get that information out through the algorithms and all of that stuff on social media. So please, please, please do your part. Make sure you're checking back and make sure you're sharing the information.
Spread the word. Eric, thank you as always, and thank you for what you guys do.
Yeah, we'll be here, meteorologist Rachel Coulter, Alicia Wilson, going to be in later today. I'll be back tomorrow morning. We're going to kind of amp up our coverage tomorrow morning, and then, of course, our Sunday morning show starting from 7 to 9 this Sunday. So
big weekend. We'll be busy.
A lot going on.
Thank you, guys. Have a great Friday.